Welcome back, everybody. Today I want to do a quick video. I'm going to start a series of videos, and as you read on the title, it's about testing stones, testing honing stones, specifically for razors, right? During this testing that I do, I could determine that it's not suitable for a razor and more suitable for a knife, kitchen knife or a pocket knife or whatnot. And some of the stuff that I do is not very scientifically. A lot of the stuff, everything is not scientifically. I am not the expert on this. I am not a pro, but this is just the approach that I take when I get a new stone. Some of this stuff is stuff that you do every day, right? But how this idea came to be. So I have a friend who bought some stones online, different vendors. He came from Japan, and he wanted me to teach him. He wanted me to test these stones for him. So I got two here. So I got this one, beautiful, beautiful stone. This one was sold as a barber hone, a Japanese barber hone. It's a Japanese natural stone, and it's supposed to be a finisher. And so he sent it to me. Can you make sure that that is a finisher? Fair enough. Then he sent me this ginormous brick, and he asked me the same thing. Could you see where this stone will fall in the scheme of honing razors, right? Where in my progression can I use this stone? This is a huge stone, by the way. And so I said, sure. And then I was talking to him, and I was trying to explain the things that I do, and I was like, man, I was just gonna make a video. And so I'm gonna make a video of me prepping this stone. I haven't done anything to this stone. I got them yesterday. So this is exactly how I received them. So on the first video, I'm gonna just not even gonna have a razor or a knife or anything like that out. The first thing I do with a stone is the first impressions, right? So it depends where I get the stone. So I got three stones here. This one is supposed to be a Nakayama, reputable vendor. I haven't even tried it yet, but it's sealed. The wood has some lacquer on it. Looks nicer, feels good. I have stones for this vendor before, so if he tells me it's a finisher, more than likely it's a finisher. So that's my first impression of this one. Fair enough, it's nice and lapped and everything, right? Well, this one is not. This one is a huge chunk. It's not lapped. I never used this vendor before. My buddy just sent it to me. We don't know much about this stone, so that's why I choose this one, because we're going to start from scratch. So if you have a person that is selling you a stone, is telling you that is already proven, you try some edges off of it, and it says that it's a finisher. Well, it's a finisher, right? There's not a lot that you can relate with this first couple videos. So I'm gonna do the entire testing on videos for this stone. So the first thing I do with a stone that is somewhat raw like this one is I lap it. And I'm not gonna bore you with a lot of the lapping that I do, but the reason you lap it is to make sure that it's flat. But very cool thing that I like about lapping is that when you're lapping, it gives you an idea of how hard that stone is. Secondly, some stones have been sitting out or in a garage or whatever for a long time, and they're oxidized on the top, right? They're natural. So you want to lap, you want to take all that out. So, and this one has a piece of wood underneath, so I'm gonna use my DMT 325, and some people are gonna say, why just use SIG powder? And yes, SIG powder is really good for lapping, but for me, it's easier to read the stone as I'm lapping with the DNT 325. So as I get this stone wet for the first time, I can see that this stone has several layers already. Let's see if you can see them in the light. There's several lines, different colors. And that is really interesting. So usually I take the plate, put the stone on the holder, and lap on top. But this time I'm gonna do it the opposite way. Try not to get the piece of wood that wet. So, and I'm just gonna start lapping. Here it comes. I did not do the grit pattern on it, right? Why did I not do the grit? Because I really don't care about the grit right now. Because this stone has, you probably see that now, these lines over it that I had to go through it. You can probably hear it. See that? So I had to lap quite a bit. So right now I'm not worried about a grid to see how flat it's gonna be. All I'm worried is about taking all that off the stone and make a nice smooth surface. Right? So I'm gonna be doing this. I'm gonna lap it, and then I'm gonna come back and tell you what I look for when I'm lapping it. This is gonna take a while, and I'm not gonna make you suffer through that. See you soon. All right. So bringing you back to so you can see the progress so far. I've been lapping it, and I decided to go with the plate on the hand. Stone is pretty heavy. So right now we're not completely, we haven't gotten away from them large lines. I still have one. You probably can't see it because of the light angle, but it's right here, and it comes out about like that, right? But right now it's pretty flat, and this stone is looking really awesome. Let me see. Really awesome. Let's see if you guys can see it. The colors on it are really cool. It's nice and smooth. So things that I'm aware and looking for, right? So when you're lapping, you wanna make sure that whatever is releasing, it's not like big chunks of a foreign metal that might be embedded, or a harder stone. If it has incursions, little holes or lines that it's not catching, stuff like that. You want to see how thick that slurry is, how easy it is to slurry. If it is really easy to slurry, that means that it's really soft. The harder it is to slurry, the harder the stone is. Usually hardness is equal to higher grit. Dare to say that, right? So I bring you in. I noticed I didn't even tell you where this stone comes from, the mine, because it doesn't really matter. It actually is supposed to be an Osuku, and it looks like an Osuku to me. But the reason that it really doesn't matter is because when you are testing a stone, you're trying to stay as objective as possible, and knowing the mine, it might influence your first reaction or your perspective or your expectations of that particular stone. All right, and the mine that it comes from not necessarily is equal to how awesome it is with razors. So I'm gonna try it a little bit. You can probably see them lines better, but not really. I'm gonna be finishing the lapping, and I noticed if you guys are interested in lapping videos, there's a lot of lapping videos out there by a lot of people that know what they're doing. So just put in YouTube, search it. But so far, I am not making a lapping video because there's many videos out there. So I use usually a red pencil, any pencil. But when you're making the lines, the grid, you don't have to make a perfect grid. You can do zigzags or whatever. Use it as an indication too of the stone. A lot of the times you can actually feel the stone as you are tracing. You can feel the graininess or the smoothness. The smoother the stone, sometimes won't even write as much, right? If you are aware, if you know a little bit about dealing with chrome surfaces, at my job, that's how we test chrome. We take a number 2 pencil. This is not number 2, but you take a number 2 pencil and you try to write on chrome. If it writes, that is not good. The chrome surface is being compromised, and you might be getting some corrosion. So some light corrosion. So, and that happens with stones too, not to that level because it's not gonna get as polished, but you can tell the difference between a stone that is a lower grit, to say it like that. You can try it with your lower grit stones, like a 1K Chaucera or something like that. Whatever your 1K is, try make lines, and you can get a feel for it. You can feel the graininess, and then take like an AK and make a line on it. You can tell the difference. So I'm gonna show you a little bit of how it's looking. Let's turn the camera a little bit this way. So I don't put a lot of pressure, so this is not a lapping video. But I do want to show you something. Right now I'm not concerned with the pressure. I can well on it because I still have ways to go. But as I'm looking, usually when I'm slurring up a stone for honing, I don't apply any pressure at all. And with the little bit of pressure that I am applying, in this case I am applying more pressure than normal, that's the slurry that I'm getting. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's the slurry that I'm getting. It's looking really nice, really even. It's not releasing any particles. When you have this, the kawa, whatever they call it, you have the skin on the stone. You have to be careful with that as you're lapping. A lot of people will just get rid of that altogether. They will just lap through it. I like how it looks, so I don't care. But that right there might be harder. It might affect your edge as you're honing. So, but I'm just looking at the slurry right now, and it's looking really smooth. This stone is really promising. Another thing I wanted to show you as I was lapping that I noticed. So it has some really cool colorations right in this area. Right, it goes from green to yellow, and there's this line that goes like that diagonally right here. It comes through here like that, and right now I don't see any issues with it, but I can tell see that it could be perceived as something like a bad incursion. Years down the road it might, who knows. There are natural stones, so that happens, but you see different lines across, dividing them layers. And that's some stuff that you have to be aware of. That line from the top, it looks like it's coming from down here. It's coming up and across. Okay? Then we have some serious lines here, and they're all horizontal. and then we have another one here. Okay. So you might be thinking, why in the world he didn't take that stone off the wood and all that? Well, this is not my stone, so I wouldn't do that. And I'm just gonna be testing, right? After you test the stone, then you can decide if it is good enough to keep. If I go through the trouble of removing it, making the wood nice and sealing it, what if it sucks? And then I just spend all that time, effort, money, and the stone sucks, right? So I'll keep lapping, I'll come right back. All right, everybody. So closing remarks on the first part of this series of videos of testing whetstones, strictly for razors. So right now, this stone has been lapped. I use a DMT 325 that I've been using for the last 4 years. It's pretty worn. A lot of people, and you can see some videos out there on lapping process, and they like to finish on like a 1200. I'm not gonna do that. I do have to lap a little bit more, but it's pretty flat right now. Edges are rounded off, and it's ready to test with a razor, right? So I let it dry so you guys can see this stone. It has some colorations coming down, kind of like a rainbow. Not rainbow, but there's some lines, different colors. Really, really cool. So earlier I mentioned about this line. While it was wet, you couldn't see it. So far, I don't think it's gonna be an issue whatsoever. But it's there. It's something that you have to be aware when you are testing stones, that you have a potential, it could be a toxic line. More than likely, it's not gonna be. And with a stone this big, even if it is, you can chop it there. You still have ton of stone. Look at that. That is like 2 inches thick. So another thing that you want to look for, that I look for, now you don't have to do this, but is how smooth it is after you lap it. And my wife, she does this thing with her lips, dry lips, and she just basically, you can rub your lips across it like so, very gently, and you could tell which stone is smoother than which if you compare in different ones. And this one is very promising. It's looking really, really soft, really, really nice. And so in the next video, I'm gonna get it wet so you guys see it wet. The next video, we're gonna get some razors out and we're gonna be testing speed. We're gonna be testing, more importantly, making sure that it's suitable for razors, that it's not toxic, right? And one of the things that can make it unsuitable for razors is razors have very fine edges, right? That very tip is very fragile, is very thin, and it can break. That's where you get the microchipping, right? If it is, a lot of things have to do with that angle, and then how steep that angle or how fine it is, and all that, the degrees. But some stones are great for pocket knives, because you don't need that. The pocket knives, the degrees that edge is on is a lot wider. So if you have something like this, it's a lot stronger than something like that. And when you're honing a surface that is like that, an edge that is like that, is a lot fragile. It can move, bend, and chip. So, and that's what we're going to be looking in the second video. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I'm really excited about doing this with you guys. See you guys later.